Part 23. The contemporary academic god is secretly a charlatan. Author, Luo Meyer. Chapter 221. Chapter 221 Acting as Chief Instructor. Mu Xiao looked at her happily. Sister, you come here to eat too. It's been a long time since I've eaten here, so I came over to eat. At this time, a tall and handsome boy came over and said, Xiaoyui, Xiao, long time no see. Mu Xiaoyui nodded and smiled when he saw him. Okay, brother, you, haven't you been busy lately? He said softly. Well, she has been busy recently. Is she? Mu Xiao smiled and said, this is my sister Mu Qingjian, the chief instructor of the special training class. My sister just returned to China recently. Mu Yujing said warmly, hello, teacher, I am Mu Yujing, a junior in college. Nice to meet you, teacher. She nodded and said, well, hello, teacher, it's also nice to meet you, classmate Mu. When her dishes were ready, she looked at him and said, let's eat together, classmate Mu, and don't mind me. The food here is delicious, so I came here to eat. Do you want to eat together? I ordered a lot. He looked at a pile of dishes and said, ahem, teacher, can you finish ordering so much by yourself? Yes, there are Xiao and Xiaoyui, and the teacher has a good appetite. He looked surprised. Teacher, I'm afraid you have more than just a good appetite. Haha, teacher can't tell, you have a big appetite. It's okay, let's eat. Soon, several people finished eating, and she had to eat by herself. The three of them just looked at Mu Qingjian after eating a pile of seafood, steak, and dessert. Mu Yujing thought she was full, and saw her drink a large glass of juice. He found that she really couldn't eat normally. After eating so much, her belly was still flat even though she was wearing tight clothes. She rubbed her belly and sighed with satisfaction, it's delicious, but the portion is still so small. I'm only 7/10 full after eating it. Forget it, it's almost there. Student Mu, is this all you eat? Young people should eat more, don't restrain your appetite when you are growing, she said with a serious expression. He looked embarrassed and said, thank you, teacher, for your concern. I am already very full. Mu Xiao knew that her sister had a big appetite, so she didn't say anything. Farewell to the three of them, she went back to her lounge to play games. When she was having a hard time fighting, Principal, he called her. Hello, okay, I understand. After hanging up the phone, she tidied up her appearance and looked at herself in sportswear in the mirror. She looked very satisfied. As expected, she had a good figure and looked good in anything she wore. The chief instructor and assistant instructor of the junior special training class had an accident yesterday and are now lying in the hospital, so Principal, he specifically asked her to keep an eye on them for a few days. The junior classmates saw her walking in front of them in sportswear, and they were confused for a moment. Who can tell them that the chief instructor of the special training class for freshmen can also teach in the special training class for juniors, and that the chief emotional instructor can also operate in this way? Mu Qingjian looked tall and handsome in sportswear. She was still very stylish in a sports top that was not too tight. For the first time, the students present felt that the sportswear of the original school uniform looked so good on good-looking people. Gather, her cold voice sounded, and they subconsciously and slowly gathered towards her. All the students lined up according to their height. She stood in front of them, looking at the group of people who were not standing up properly, and they were all slouching, and said loudly, stand at attention, stand up for me, those who are not standing up properly. Didn't you eat? Who didn't stand up properly? There is a class today. Just stand there until get out of class is over. After hearing her words, the group immediately straightened their backs in high spirits, but there were still a few male students standing lazily. She walked directly in front of them, kicked their legs straight with her feet, and slapped their waists and hands quickly with her hands, forcing several of them to straighten their backs. There was nothing they could do. They were hurt from being beaten. They didn't expect the freshman chief instructor to be so violent. One of them looked at Mukinjian angrily. "Do you know who I am? You are just the chief instructor of the freshman year. Why do you care so much? Don't you want to do it anymore?" She looked at him and hugged her hands in a funny way. "Oh? Really? If you can make me unable to be the chief instructor, then the teacher is looking forward to seeing if you have the right to try it with your classmates. But now I am still your temporary chief instructor. In my class, you must be obedient and do as I say. If you are not convinced, you can continue to try." The boy looked at him, who still looked unafraid. It was the first time he saw a teacher dare to do this to him. He was extremely angry for a moment. You know how grown up he is. No one is complimenting him, even his chief instructor. "Just wait for me. Don't think about continuing to be the chief instructor here. I'll let you know the consequences of offending me. You will be fined if you don't drink the toast. Don't think that just because you are good looking, you can do whatever you want," the boy glared fiercely. She said. Mu Yujing looked at Mu Qingjian, but he wanted to see what Mu Xiao and his sister would do. He was looking forward to whether she was the same as others. She stepped forward and said, "The teacher asked you to give me a hand. You have beaten me. I have been your chief instructor these days and you can do whatever you want. But you can't beat me, haha, run 20 laps on the playground. Do you dare to try? Haha, you are funny. If you don't use your hands, why don't you hit me with your feet? Then don't blame me for attacking a woman. If I hurt you, don't cry." The boy looked at her with disdain. Zhang Yu looked at the woman who really didn't know how high the sky was and how he beat her until she cried and surrendered. "I have lived in military camps since I was a child, and few people have beaten me. Don't think that because she is a woman, you won't fight her. You said this. It hurts from being beaten by me, so don't cry for me. Come on." She stretched out her hand and said, "Come on. Don't let my classmates think I'm bullying the younger ones. Then don't blame me for looking down on me." After saying that, he punched me. Mu Qingjian quickly blocked it with her long legs, and everyone was stunned. "I'll go, there's still work to be done." "What a cowhide. Mom, he's so handsome. I love your teacher's long legs." "Ah, Teacher Mu, I love you." Mu Qingjian smiled charmingly and ignored their expressions of love. Zhang Yu never touched her after several reincarnations. She finally had enough fun, quickly turned around and came up behind him, and kicked his legs. With no resistance at all, he lost his balance and fell directly to the ground. In an instant, everyone shouted loudly, "Awesome!" She knelt down and patted Zhang Yu on the shoulder. "Since classmate has lost, let's fulfill our promise. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention it. The teacher is a soldier, so don't underestimate a female soldier." Holy shit, I found it, he was already the leader when he was the same age as us. "I'll go, cowhide." She was only in her 20s at that time. "Daddy is indeed your daddy. I'm scared." Zhang Yu slapped Mu Qingjian's hand away, stood up and patted the grass on his body, looking at her fiercely. "Just wait for me." After saying that, he went running silently alone. Mu Yujing smiled when he saw her winning easily. She was indeed their sister. End of this chapter. The contemporary academic god is secretly a charlatan. Author, Luo Meyer. Chapter 222. Chapter 222 Warm Invitation. Mu Qingjian looked at them. "Okay, classmates, you've almost finished watching the show. It's time to exercise. Now it's time for you to let loose. Run 15 laps around the playground. Come on, boys." He lazily raised his hand to make a cheering gesture. "Ah, I don't want it, my makeup will come off." No, teacher, 15 laps, it's better not to run on such a hot day. Whoa, it's really a devil. She showed a naughty smile. It's okay if you don't want to run. If any of you can beat me, you don't have to run. Just like the classmate just now, when I serve as the interim head coach, you don't have to run in the future. You who wants to come first? As soon as Mu Kinjian finished speaking, a group of people ran as fast as if they were being chased by evil spirits. Zhang Yu was beaten so badly just now, who would dare to fight him? Looking at everyone, she looked at Mu Yujing and asked with some confusion, "Does Mr. Mu want to fight me?" "Ahem, teacher, today is a good day for exercise." "Teacher Mu, I'm going to exercise first." Life lies in exercise. After saying that, he ran quickly with big strides. He knew he couldn't beat her, and besides, Zhang Yu, that big guy, grew up in a military camp and was trained by his grandfather, the devil, all day long. Even he couldn't beat her, so how could he beat Mu Kinjian? He still has some knowledge of his own strength, so he won't be as reckless and impulsive as Zhang Yu. They were half squatting until they finished running. Some girls were so tired that they sat on the lawn regardless of appearance. In one afternoon, everyone was frightened by her training methods, and finally experienced why the freshman special training class called her the devil teacher. This afternoon in the junior special training class, I felt that time passed so slowly. The days are like years. They felt that their hands were no longer their own, and their feet were shaking uncontrollably. Everyone was not as lazy as usual, but their chief instructor was stunned. These were students in his class. He quickly continued to hold the tablet and looked again, and it turned out that it was really in his class. You must know that the training base is monitored, so when he was hospitalized, he didn't forget whether his students were obedient, but he only discovered the scene when he took a look. Mu Kinjian looked at them. "Okay, students, it's time for get out of class to end." Finally, the teacher hopes that students can study as seriously as today. Because you are very smart, as long as you focus all your attention on your studies, you will not worse than others. But as long as you strive to be your best, you will live up to expectations and live up to your youth, he said to them with seriousness and conviction. Mu Yujing looked at Mu Kinjian and felt more and more that she was really capable. Sure enough, university life like this was interesting. He became more and more curious about what kind of person she was. In this way, the freshman special training class and the junior special training class were mixed together for training. After 10 days of torture by Mu Lingyu, their chief instructor was coming back today, and they finally got through it. It's great to finally free the devil's training today, so when everyone organized the members, everyone cheered and went to the hotel to sing a song together at the KTV. This hotel belongs to Zhang Yu's family, and Zhang Yu is very generous in providing a presidential room for free, with a 30% discount on meals and drinks. The freshmen and juniors were very happy. After all, it is very rare to book a presidential room. Now it only costs 30% off the price of drinks, so it is already a great deal. Mu Kinjian stood on the podium and looked at the two noisy classes. "Everyone, be quiet. Although you juniors have finished training here, you still have to continue working hard when you go back. Do you understand?" "Journal student, I know. Teacher Mu." Zhang Yu looked at him. Teacher Mu, our two classes are going to be separated today, so we have an impromptu dinner together. Can you come?" "Everyone hopes that you can come." In 10 days, Zhang Yu has become a loyal fan of Mu Kinjian. Ma Chao shouted, "Yes. Teacher, let's go together. Teacher has worked hard these 10 days. Lin Xiaoxiao nodded and said, "Teacher Mu is also very hard working. He trains with us." Mu Qingmu showed his handsome and gentle smile. "Teacher, everyone sincerely likes and thanks you. If the teacher doesn't go, it will break everyone's hearts." Mu Xiao and Mu Xiaoyui didn't say anything, and they were looking forward to him going together. Everyone looked at her with pitiful expressions. Yeah, yes. Okay. Don't be pretentious then, teacher, I promise you will go under everyone's expectant eyes. She had no choice but to promise to go. Classmates, that's great. She looked at the cheering classmates and asked them to continue the class quietly. Everyone suppressed their excitement. Listen to the class quietly and honestly. When she returned to the office of the special training class, she was surrounded by them. Young Master Mew is really young and promising. Your training methods are so good, they are making better and better progress. Now the students are finally serious about training, thank you so much, the junior head coach said to her with special gratitude. Yes, young Master Mew is really amazing, the instructors gathered around her and praised her constantly. Principal he stepped forward to stop her. Okay. You guys are talking non-stop, how do you ask Muyeta to answer? Everyone, please spread out, the instructors of each class let her go. She said generously and gracefully, we are colleagues in school, so just call me Teacher Mew and Instructor Mew. After all, this is my responsibility, so there is no need to thank me. After all, everyone is doing it for the good of the students. Principal he patted her on the shoulder and said with great emotion, Muyeta's spirit is worth learning from. She is such a good child. She is indeed one of my favorites. Not bad. Haha. Everyone was so embarrassed when they saw Principal He's shameless look. The teaching director smiled and said, okay, Lao He, I almost scared Xiao Mu. Thank you for your hard work, Xiao Mu. Now the parents of the special training class are very grateful to you, but they still don't have your phone number, so you can give us your WeChat they? To facilitate the parents of their children to ask about their children's situation at school. Mu Kinjian smiled and said, okay, director, I've been busy lately and I forgot about it. This is my number synchronized with WeChat. Director Wen, just ask the parents of the children to add me. Okay, the dean was satisfied with getting the number and added her WeChat and number. He was the first person to add her. Principal he immediately stepped forward and said, you old man. You are so scheming. Give me your number quickly. I'm also going to add Muyeta's WeChat account. How can I fall behind and give it to you? Hurry up. So when people saw Principal he and Director Xiao competing like children, they couldn't stand it. They were both a bunch of prude old men. Of course she didn't see it, because she had already silently exited the main office and returned to her private office, so she didn't see the scene. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The contemporary academic god is secretly a charlatan. Author, Luo Meyer. Chapter 223. Chapter 223 Group Gathering. Mu Kinjian drives the latest version of the modified Maybach. Han Yexuan customized a couple's car for her. There are only two of them. I saw her car along the way, and all the car owners consciously stayed away from her car. I couldn't afford to pay for it. Here I go, this Maybach is so cool, why haven't I seen this car before, it's so heroic. After saying this, Zhang Yu planned to go up and strike up a conversation. This car is so cool. Mu Qingmu saw his car-loving expression and couldn't help but carefully remind him, drive well. Zhang Yu drove his flashy blue Lamborghini sports car and passed the car in front of him so fast that the car owner almost yelled in fright. After looking at the license plate number and the car, he became silent for a moment. After all, he couldn't afford to offend someone who could afford this car and the license plate number. Oh my god, am I dazzled, why did I see the teacher driving? Zhang Yu looked at Mu Qingjian in surprise. Mu Yejing's side face met her overly pretty face. Well, if you're not dazzled, it's her. Holy shit, that's amazing, The teacher turns out to be an invisible rich man. He's still white, rich and beautiful. Marrying the teacher will save you decades of hard work. Jong Yu looked happy. He was amused by him. She looks down on you. Don't you know that he is Xiao's biological sister? She is married and has children. Well, I forgot about it for a moment, and I felt a little sad for no reason. Mu Yejing just looked at Mu Qingjian's profile. She was indeed very beautiful and fairy, so beautiful that people couldn't believe that she was real. She and he seemed to be from two different worlds, and ordinary people dare not imagine her beauty. She looked sideways at him, and he was so frightened by her sudden turn that he immediately avoided her sight. After all, she was a married woman and the sister of his friend. Jong Yu saw her turning her head and immediately greeted her energetically. Mu Qingjian said a word in silence and immediately sped away. Hey, did the teacher say something just now? Did you hear it? He looked confused and didn't hear what she said. Mu Yejing turned his head again and looked at her car in the distance. She said, you idiot, drive well. Did you say that much? Jong Yu looked at his reddish ears and felt that he was a little weird. When her car arrived at the entrance of the hotel, everyone gathered around to watch. Oh my God, who is this? This car looks so expensive, it looks better and cooler than the one my dad drives. Yes, it's a nice looking car. You girls know how good looking this car is. This car is the latest top-end customized model from Maybach. I heard it was a couple's model. There were only 2 of them at the beginning. It's really handsome. It's so luxurious. The boy looked at it with envious eyes. With a Maybach. Come down, let's see who drove it. The hotel attendant opened the door for her. When the young man saw her face, he couldn't help but blush. Mu Qingjian slowly stepped on the red carpet wearing exquisite high heels. Please help me drive to the parking lot, thank you. She smiled slightly. The waiter looked at her, who was super gentle and was deeply fascinated by her sweet voice. Okay. I'm going, it's the teacher. Several of us shouted loudly. She looked up and looked at them and said, hello, I'm sorry, teacher, I'm not late. There's a traffic jam ahead. The girls gathered around her with expressions of adoration and admiration. Teacher, you look great today, you are simply the best looking one in the whole audience. It looks the best, and the car is the coolest. Teacher, we can go see the teacher's car later, just go up and touch it. He looked at them funny and nodded in agreement. They were very happy. At this time, Mu Xiao and Mu Xiaoyui quickly arrived at the door of the hotel, and several people greeted them. When Jong Yu brought Mu Yejing to the hotel manager came to greet him and soon led a group of people to the president's room. The manager said with respect, Master, the food is ready. If you need anything else, just call me. If you need anything else, please call me. You're welcome. Classmates, okay. Jong Yu nodded. Manager Xia, go ahead and do your work first. Okay, young master. Mu Qingjian was asked by Jong Yu and others to sit in the main seat, so Jong Yu should naturally sit on her right, and Mu Xiao and Mu Xiaoyui sat on her left. Jong Yu, who has a bold personality, picked up the red wine glass and said, this glass of wine is to thank the teacher for training with us for the past 10 days. Thank you for your hard work. After that, he drank it. All the male junior students looked at each other and immediately started to toast. Thank you, Teacher Mu, for accompanying me for 10 days. Teacher, I'll do it first. Teacher Mu, you are my goddess, I'll do it first. Teacher, you can do as you like. After saying that, he looked at Mu Lingyu's face and became bored. Wow, this is a confession. How brave are you to look down on serious people? Mu Qingjian watched them toast one by one and then returned the toast one by one. Now everyone was stunned. Teacher Mu drank so much, but nothing happened. Everyone saw that she had drunk so much wine, but her expression remained unchanged. It seemed that she could no longer see her drunk appearance, and they all felt sorry for her. This party was a great time. Everyone felt closer and exuded youthful vitality. She drank red wine and looked at the singing classmates with a smile. This is how energetic she should be at her age, which is quite memorable. At this time, Jongyu quickly picked up the phone. "Teacher, don't just drink. Why don't you sing a song too? Let's listen. We haven't heard you sing before." At this time, all the students immediately started shouting, "Teacher Mu, come on, come on." Mu Xiao also looked curious, because he seemed to have never heard his sister sing. Mu Qingjian was not shy at all. She stood up openly and said, "Okay, then the teacher thinks I'm ugly. Please don't laugh at me, classmates. Haha, don't worry, Teacher Mu, even if you don't sing well, I'm still your loyal fan." Ma Chao was the first to shout loudly. Wu Tao also stood up excitedly, "Teacher Mu, come on." She took Zhang Yu's microphone and switched to a song. A sweet melody sounded, and her voice sang along with the rhythm of the music. Everyone was attracted by her beautiful voice, but they didn't expect that she could sing so beautifully. After singing the song, everyone stood up and applauded excitedly. "Okay, listen carefully." After drinking so much, Mu Qingjian went out alone to get some air and slowly walked to the rooftop of the hotel. Suddenly a familiar scent hugged her from behind. "Qing I'm jealous of my husband. You actually sang to them. I've never heard you sing to me." She turned around and hugged his waist. "Why are you here? Don't you have something to deal with today?" He complained and hugged her tightly. "We were talking, but I knew you were here, so I came over to see you." "Qing you haven't answered me yet." She blushed and saw no one nearby, so she stood up on her toes and hugged his neck, giving him a sweet kiss. "Okay, I know I was wrong, and I won't do it again, okay." But how could he just kiss her and deepen the kiss, unwilling to let go for a long time? It wasn't until she softened in his arms that she looked satisfied. "You can't sing to others in the future, you can only sing to me, otherwise today will be your punishment." "Yeah, I know." She blushed and leaned into his arms. It wasn't until Mu Xiao called her that she left his arms and returned to the box. A few people looked at her red lips. They didn't seem so red when she went out. Why were they so red when she came back? She must have put on lipstick. End of this chapter. The contemporary academic god is secretly a charlatan. Author, Luo Meyer. Chapter 224. Chapter 224. This is my wife. The party ended quickly. Mu Xiao was the only student in the two classes who did not drink. Everyone called their driver to pick them up. Mu Qingjian said goodbye to her classmates, and Han Yexuan came to take them back. When she returned to the classroom the next day, everyone gathered around her. "Say hello to her." Because of yesterday's party, they gradually dared to get along with her like friends. Many people envied their teacher-student relationship, and ever since she took over the special training class. Their training data are very good, and they are the most popular among the 4 special training classes. Many parents have donated teaching buildings and library buildings to the school in the name of Mu Qingjian. Principal He was so happy that when he saw Mu Qingjian, he treated her as if he were an ancestor. She looked at all the students in the class and said, "Next week will be the assessment of your acceptance results. I hope you will try your best to do your best. Tell me, are you okay?" The students immediately cheered, "Yes, it must be done." She smiled and said, "Very good, you are my students, Mu Qingjian. After all, you are extraordinary people. We must shock all the teachers and students in the school. From now on, the freshman special training class will be the pride and honor of the entire school. This is the highest trust I can give you, because you are the best people I have ever met." Everyone has a determined look on their face. If someone once said this to them, they might have sneered. Now they can't do it anymore, because they are so confident in what they can do. During this period, she customized different training methods for each of her classmates. Everyone has their own training style that works best for them, which makes them feel incredibly relaxed. There are various types of training every day, and training never stops. Some students can't help but practice even when they go home from school. Some students can't help but wave their fists when eating. Some are asleep, training in their dreams, and practicing in bed. The bed collapsed directly. She frightened their parents so much that they quickly asked her in the parent group. Teacher Mew. What's wrong with my Xiaoran? Why is he dreaming about going to training at night? When my Dao Tao was eating, he was still waving his chopsticks. What's wrong with Teacher Mew? Don't talk about it, Teacher Mew, my Xiao Xiao hasn't stopped mumbling. You guys have figured it out, my devil has been sleepwalking in his swimming pool all morning, and he was just fished ashore. Awesome, the students really work hard, haha. Mu Qingjian looked helpless when she looked at what the parents said. Because the assessment will be held once a month the day after tomorrow, and the students are all working hard for this assessment. I hope all parents will take good care of their children. Provide instant nutrition to students to avoid lack of nutrition due to high-level training. Wu Tao's parents, received from Teacher Mew. Lin Xiaoxio's parent, no problem, Teacher Mew. Zhang Yu's parent, okay, Teacher Mew. Su Heron's parents, give him a good supplement immediately. Due to the diligent training of the freshman special training class, many people were attracted by it, and other special training classes also started training hard. The assessment is held once a month, leaving everyone in the ordinary class at a loss. But they don't know that this assessment is no less stressful for their special training class than the college entrance examination. After all, this is a national assessment competition, about personal honors and class honors. On Saturday, when Mu Qingjian was getting off work, Han Yeshuan came over to pick her up. When everyone saw how handsome her husband was, they all showed surprised expressions, so people passing by couldn't help but stare. Oh my God, he is Teacher Mew's husband, so handsome. He is so tall and handsome, the two of them are simply incomparable in appearance. This look is a perfect match, I love it. She smiled at them, got into his car, and the two drove away from the school. Xian, why did you suddenly ask me out today? Han Yexuan frowned and said, Qing you haven't stayed with me for almost 6 days, so why don't you stay with me well today? Okay, I know I was wrong. I'm sorry that I've been cold to you recently. So where are we going to start now? He smiled and said, I'll take you to take the cable car. The scenery happens to be particularly beautiful. You can see the scenery of the entire park. Okay. The two of them were walking in the amusement park, and the girls passing by couldn't help but look at him in a daze, looking shy. And with his height of over 1.9 meters, good looks and figure, he has the highest turnaround rate in the entire playground. Han Yexuan saw Mu Qingjian looking at his face openly and carefully, and couldn't help but reveal a faint smile. He was still very confident in his appearance. So he quickly held her hand tightly and couldn't help but smile fondly. Qing I know I'm good looking, but you don't have to look at me. Just keep staring at my face. I'll think you're coveting me. Ahem, I don't have one. Can't I just take a look? I'm not bad looking either, okay. Haha, yes, Qing is right. When she saw an old man selling candied haws, she couldn't help but get greedy. When the old man saw her coming, he smiled and narrowed his eyes. Hey, little girl, do you want to buy candied haws on a stick? My candied haws on a stick is delicious. Han Yexuan smiled and said, Grandpa, give me 2 skewers, how much do they cost together? Okay, $20 boy. After he paid the money, the old man looked at Mu Qingjian and said with a smile, this is your boyfriend. Hey, he is such a handsome young man. My little girl has good taste, and my grandfather thinks highly of you. She took the candied hos and said thank you with a smile. Han Yexuan looked at her and smiled and said, Grandpa, this is my wife, the mother of 3 children. The old man laughed happily, ha ha, it's good, it's good. Mu Qingjian shyly pulled his hand and said, let's go. Why are you so shy, girl? What a good boy, you should cherish it. Okay. You two go and have fun. After saying that, the old man left carrying the big wooden stick with candied hos on it. Han Yexuan looked down at her watery eyes, with pupils as beautiful as the starry sky. His heart almost melted, and he couldn't help but stretched out his delicate big hand to touch Mu's head. Well, wife, let's continue playing. There is endless tenderness in the depths of his eyes, and his eyes and heart are full of Mu Qingjian, and they are full of doting. Looking at his appearance, her heartbeat suddenly accelerated. His face was slightly red. She walked to the front alone, then turned her head and said, let's go up quickly. Okay, here comes Ching-er. The two were sitting on the cable car, she was looking at the scenery, and he was looking at her. It was as if she was the only one in the whole world, and no matter how beautiful the scenery was, there was no room for it in his eyes. If Mu Qingjian looked into her eyes seriously, she would find that he only had eyes for her. The two of them played like this until very late before going back, and it would be another sleepless night after they went back. End of this chapter. The contemporary academic god is secretly a charlatan. Author, Luo Meyer. Chapter 225. Chapter 225 I Want a Sister. The next morning, Mu Qingjian rubbed her waist helplessly and looked at Han Yexuan who was sleeping. She couldn't help but glance at him with some complaints, and then she changed her clothes and got ready to go to work. After she left, he slowly opened his eyes, smiled mischievously, and looked satisfied. The students in the special training class have gone through a lot of hardships and finally waited for tomorrow's assessment. Everyone lay exhausted on the table and fell asleep comfortably. The recent intense training has exhausted them. So she was not training them today, but asked them to have a good rest today. When it was lunchtime, Mu Qingjian took them to have a big meal together. Ma Chao lay comfortably on the chair, I almost lost weight from hunger. Everyone looked at him, and he was the only one in the class who had gained weight. Look at them, they have lost weight. I think you are the only one who feels fat during this period, and look at everyone else who has lost weight. Ma Chao rolled his eyes, what do you know? I have muscles, not fat. What do you know? Zhang Yu took out the mirror and touched her face, I've become so thin that I have a sharp chin. Lin Xiaoxiao looked at him with surprised eyes. A man also carried a small mirror with him, his face full of disgust. Zhang Yu, you are so narcissistic. He said disdainfully, who told you that men don't need to look in the mirror? I'm so handsome, so don't look at me more. Is it worthy of my extraordinary and incomparably handsome face? She pointed at Mu Xiao and Mu Xiaoyui behind her, what's the difference between you and them? Do you know? Humph, you girls are just superficial and don't know how to appreciate my handsomeness. Everyone was amused by his expression, which was like no other. At this time Mu Qingjian stood up and raised the wine in her hand, you have been lucky recently. The teacher is very happy. Let's have a toast. Luo Lei also raised it happily, come on, boss, let's all have a toast together. Come on tomorrow. Haha, come, teacher Mu and instructor Luo, cheers. We must cheer up and work hard for tomorrow. Come on. This scene will become their best memory. Even if they become the greatest successful people in the eyes of others in the future, they will still not be able to forget this scene. She was about to pour another glass when she was stopped by Mu Xiao. Sister, you are still at work and it is not appropriate for you to drink too much. She coughed lightly, well, aren't you happy today? Haha, I just want to drink too much. It's so rare to be happy. He looked dissatisfied. There are many happy days, so there should be no rush. Okay, got it? She looked at her younger brother and saw that he had grown up and started to take care of his older sister. She had no choice but to put down the wine glass in her hand, picked up the tea and poured herself a cup. Teacher, let's drink tea. I'll drink tea with you next time. Haha, okay, Teacher Mew. Teacher, have a good drink next time. Teacher will stop drinking now that he is at work. After eating, everyone can have a good rest today. They are also allowed not to train today. They will have a group holiday in the afternoon, and everyone will prepare their best for tomorrow's assessment. The classmates were happy to be liberated, and she went back to rest. She was soaking in the bathtub, squinting her eyes comfortably, half asleep and half awake. She was enjoying the bath very much. Meanwhile, Dandan and Juhu were teaching Zhang Yifeng how to fight in the room. The fight between the two was so lively that he looked excited and clapped beside them. But fortunately, the sound insulation effect is really good. It didn't disturb Mr. Bo and Grandma Bo, but it did wake up Mu Qingjian. She controlled them mentally in the bathroom. You are free, so go to the phantom body punishment station. They had no choice but to use their original bodies to stand on the wall obediently. Zhang Yifeng, who didn't understand why they suddenly stood on the wall, had an angry look on his face. Mu Qingjian continued to soak for an hour, then slowly put on her clothes and came out. She saw Dandan and Juhu looking at her with aggrieved expressions, but she ignored them. Dai came to the computer and turned it on. She was playing on the computer, and the two of them continued to punish her without her permission. Sister, are you there? She opened the door with a wave of her hand. Come in. Mu Xiao opened the door and looked at the two pets beside the door with a blank look on his face. Sister, why are Dandan and Juhu lying on the wall? Exercise. I'm punishing them. I learned to teach Xiaofeng some inappropriate things in one day. After answering his question, he looked at them at the door and said, if you don't obey, you will be punished by standing still. You too will teach Xiaofeng anything indiscriminately in the future. No way, master, I was wrong. Zhang Yifeng quickly picked them up. Aunt Mu, Dandan, and Juhu are very good. They taught me to fight because I was bullied by other ghosts today. That's why they taught me to fight. Aunt Mu, can you not blame them? That's it, sister, please stop scolding them. Mu Xiao rubbed their heads and smiled. Okay, I don't blame them anymore. The siblings chatted for a long time before he returned to his room. Dandan and Juhu looked at her pitifully. Master, we want to eat food from space. She quickly took out the same thing from the space and gave each of them a share. Zhang Yifeng also had a share. They happily ate the meat in the bowl and waggled their tails happily. Zhang Yifeng also happily ate the delicious spiritual fruit. When he was full, he touched his belly. Dandan and Juhu were lying on the sofa, their swollen bellies were obviously full. She picked them up helplessly and rubbed their bellies with her divine power. If you can't eat that much, just eat less. It will make you uncomfortable. After saying that, he picked up Zhang Yifeng and rubbed his belly with his divine power, not forgetting to remind him. Aunt Mu, you are so kind, but those fruits are so delicious that Xiaofeng overeat them without realizing it. I won't do it next time. After saying that, he couldn't help but act coquettishly in her arms. Mu Qingjian rubbed his head helplessly. It's good to know how your cultivation has been recently. Aunt Mu wants to check and accept your results. He jumped out of her arms and said, Aunt Mu, I've learned it very well. I'll practice it for you now. After saying that, he practiced everything he had learned recently in front of her. Seeing that he had practiced like this in just a short period of time, he was really a genius. Xiaofeng is great, so awesome. He blushed and said, Aunt Mu, Xiaofeng is happy every day now. Aunt Mu is as gentle as her mother. Haha, really, after all, Xiaofeng is so cute, And Aunt Mew also has 3 children, do you want to play with your 3 brothers then? He nodded happily, I think Xiaofeng can protect the brothers. Does Aunt Mew have a sister? Xiaofeng wants a sister. But mother said that Xiaofeng will not have a sister in the future, only an older sister, but now Xiaofeng has a younger brother. Mu Qingjian blushed, okay. Let's go out and play. Okay, then Aunt Mew, let's go out to play. Seeing him happy, she was also sincerely happy for Yin Qingja and the others. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The contemporary academic god is secretly a charlatan. Author, Luo Meyer. Chapter 226. Chapter 226 Very happy. The next day, Mu Qingjian took the people from the special training class into the car and came to the competition venue. Everyone couldn't help but become nervous, and she looked back at them. Take it easy and trust yourself. They all nodded, I know, teacher, I'm just too excited. When she showed up at the competition site with everyone, the other people in the special training class looked at Mu in amazement and said, oh my god, she is so beautiful, she is actually the chief instructor. Mom, I seem to see a fairy descending to earth. Her skin is so good, her eyes are so beautiful. Are she wearing contact lenses? I'm going to have a nosebleed. I'm envious of her long legs, they're so long and straight. Oh my god, there are such perfect people in this world. Could she be a star? She is the chief instructor. Didn't you see her wearing the chief instructor's clothes? The instructor from the other class glared at them, don't make any noise. What do you mean? Everyone immediately became quiet and did not dare to whisper anymore. Soon all the students gathered together, got into the car blindfolded, and were exiled to a desert island in batches. The first assessment is wilderness survival. There is only a dagger and nothing else is provided. The time limit is 1 week. When the special training class found out that their assessment was actually in survival mode, everyone breathed a sigh of relief and thanked her for forcing them to survive in the wild for a week. Luo Lei looked at her with a shocked face, boss, do you know that there is an outdoor survival test in the assessment? Otherwise, how could the first assessment be in the outdoor survival mode? It happens, but this time it is an individual survival mode, and teams are not allowed to survive, so we have to see if they can survive in the wild by themselves. As a result, people started giving up the game only 10 minutes into the game. After all, the beast was too scary. Also, a knife can't deal with it at all. Some people don't dare to move when they encounter wild beasts, so they have to give up the game. It is really difficult for a person to survive on a desert island for a week. The time limit was 1 week, and they could only go home and wait for the results. Han Yexuan knew that she didn't have to go to school for a week, so he ran over to pick her up and took her to play. When he took her to a villa, she saw that the backyard of the villa was a sea of flowers, which she liked. She was so moved that she hugged the man who made her heart beat. She raised her head and looked at the gentle him, showing the most beautiful smile. I don't even know when you bought a house here. She sat on the grass in the sea of flowers, hugging his waist, with a tender look on her face. Seeing her like this, he couldn't control himself and kissed her unceremoniously. Well. She wanted to say something else, but he kissed her tightly and she couldn't say a word. I patted his shoulder a few times and could only moan a few times. She gradually softened into his arms, responding to his enthusiasm. Han Yexuan lowered his head and looked at the person breathing heavily in his arms. She still couldn't change her breath after so many times. It was so cute. Ching-er, how come you still can't learn after so long? Mu Qingjian looked at him with a blushing face, you can't kiss me secretly next time. If you keep doing this, I will definitely not be able to breathe. He lowered his head and put his head close to her shoulder, and whispered in her ear with a low and unique voice, "Don't you like it, Ching-er? But just now you obviously responded to me proactively. But I like you as my husband, what do you say?" She quickly blushed again and her heart beat faster. You, I can't say anything about you, huh? She turned her head and ignored this bad man. He would bully her. Although she didn't hate him kissing her, he was too jealous. Haha, Ching-er, why are you so stupid? You're so stupid and so cute. He hugged her, touched her hair, and couldn't help laughing. I'm such a smart person, but you actually call me stupid. Are you itchy? Let's see. As he said this, he reached out to scratch his armpit. He was thrown to the ground directly. Haha, Ching-er, don't make trouble, Itchy, I really know that I was wrong, Ching-er. My Ching-er is the most powerful and smartest, my wife, please spare her life. He couldn't help laughing and said that he was not afraid of anything but tickling. Mu Qingjian laughed loudly, haha, it's too late, I didn't expect it. Xian, you are so ticklish. I finally caught you. It's too late to beg for mercy. Han Yexuan finally couldn't help but turn over, pressing the naughty person tightly under him. Ching-er, you are still so naughty. You can't do it without some punishment. As he said that, he lowered his head and got closer to her face, getting closer and closer. When she saw his face getting closer and closer, she closed her eyes nervously and waited for his revenge. Haha, Han Yexuan, you bastard, haha, no more. Mu Qingjian, who couldn't stand being tickled by him, couldn't help but laugh. She couldn't escape even if she wanted to, and was hugged tightly by his tall body. In arms. Looking at the man in his arms who was laughing so hard that tears came out, he stopped his hands that continued to scratch, and raised the corners of his mouth into a bad smile. Ching-er, when you closed your eyes just now, were you inviting me to kiss you? She quickly covered her mouth. I don't have one, don't falsely accuse me. Okay, you didn't, I thought too much, okay. He surrendered with his hands and looked at her with a doting tone. As a result, when she was about to stand up, she accidentally stepped on her skirt and almost fell down. He quickly hugged her with one big hand and protected her head with one hand, and the two hugged each other intimately. His strong arms hugged Mu Lingyu tightly. She lay in his arms, her head pressed against his chest, breathing in the scent of him, the light fragrance. The atmosphere seemed ambiguous. She raised her head and placed her hands on his strong chest. She blushed for some reason and her heart beat faster. He quickly sat down again and turned his head to the side. He sat next to her and hugged her domineeringly. Ching-er, I'm so lucky to have you. We have been together for so long, and I still can't believe that you are mine. She leaned on his shoulder gently. Well, I have always felt so unreal, but I am really happy. I found that I can't live without you. I am very happy to have your unique love. How can he have you and our children? Silly girl, what are you talking about? Falling in love with you is the happiest thing for me. I love you too, Xian. I love you more, and we have our baby. I'm so happy. Well, I'm very happy too. The two of them sat on the lawn and cuddled up, smiling so sweetly and happily. The fireflies illuminated the two of them, as if congratulating the fairy couple. After a long time, Han Yexuan squatted down and said, Ching-er, come up. Let's go home. She lay shyly and happily on his strong back, hugged his neck, and rested her head on his gentle back. End of this chapter. The contemporary academic god is secretly a charlatan. Author, Luo Meyer. Chapter 227. Chapter 227. Taking wedding photos. Han Yexuan saw her sleeping, changed her clothes and looked at her sleeping face. He couldn't help but kiss her forehead, smiling lovingly. After washing, he lay down next to her, and he couldn't help but feel sleepy. Hold out his hands to hold her, smell the faint fragrance on her body, and gradually fell asleep. In the early morning, a ray of sunlight shines directly into their room, like a shining golden thread, not only illuminating the room, but also illuminating each other's cheeks. The two of them opened their eyes at the same time. "Good morning," then they looked at each other and smiled. She looked at him. "Xian, aren't you busy today?" "I'm not busy, but when you wake up, I will teach you a lesson." Then he pressed her under him and started to tickle her. "Haha, don't make trouble, what's wrong with me?" He held her hands down and said, "What's wrong? You actually fell asleep." She laughed and cried for a moment. "So you didn't get up early today just because I fell asleep yesterday?" "Half of it, things have been settled, our wedding is coming soon, so let's take wedding photos first." "Okay, I understand, then you can let me go." Suddenly the door was opened, and Dandan, Juhu and Zhang Yifeng looked at the scene in front of them. "Master, male master." When he saw Uncle Han pressing Aunt Mu, his big watery eyes asked in confusion, "Auntie, what are you doing?" The little look in his eyes made the two of them sit down immediately, and Mu Qingjian coughed slightly. "Ahem, Xiaofeng, why are you here?" "Aunt Mu, Grandpa asked me to wake you up for breakfast." Han Yexuan looked at him and said, "Xiaofeng, please go downstairs first. Uncle and Aunt will come downstairs soon." "Okay Uncle Han, let's go first." Dandan and Juhu also ran away quickly. After all, they ruined the good thing of the male master. After dinner, Han Yexuan took her to take wedding photos, and the two came to a 5-star hotel by the sea. When she returned to the room to put away her things, the makeup artist took her to put on makeup. Dandan and Juhu put on their swimsuits and ran straight away. They also wanted to take wedding photos together, which Mu Qingjian wanted to go to. When she put on the wedding dress, the makeup artist looked at her with blushing eyes and heartbeat. "Do you need me to apply sunscreen for you? Your skin is very fair. Although the sun is not very strong right now, it would be better to apply some sunscreen." "That's fine too, thank you." She blushed. "No. You're welcome." The makeup artist looked at her perfect and hot figure, swallowed subconsciously, and she slapped herself hard. What is she doing? How can a girl be so greedy? She put sunscreen on her hands and dabbed it on her back. Her hair tingled and her face turned redder when it touched her skin. "This skin is so good that I feel that her hands are so rough, but it is really good." When she was about to finish applying it, she felt a stream of heat slowly flow out of her nose, and she quickly caught it with her hands. Mu Qingjian suddenly felt the smell of blood, turned around and saw her nose bleed, and quickly stood up to draw a tissue for her. "Why do you have a nosebleed? Raise your head quickly." At this time, the makeup artist wanted to find a hole in the ground and crawl into it. She applied sunscreen on the woman and her nose bleeds. How embarrassing. "I'm fine, I'm just a little angry because I ate fried dough sticks in the morning." She could only make it up, she couldn't tell her that she applied sunscreen until her nose bleeded. That's too perverted. She came down relieved when she saw that her nosebleed stopped. "It's okay. Don't eat too hot food in the morning. How do you feel now?" She took off the tissue and said, "It seems to be okay. Let's go out." "I'm afraid Sina has been waiting for a long time." "That's good, let's go." While Dandan and the others were playing, she came out. The people present were shocked when they saw her, but Han Yexuan glanced at her and everyone subconsciously turned their heads. In fact, her wedding dress only exposed her beautiful back and collarbones, but these alone made the people present unable to take their eyes away. It was so perfect. Dandan looked at her. "Master, you look great in your wedding dress, so beautiful. Your little wedding dress today is also very beautiful, you look like a little bride." Juhu came over and said with a playful smile, "Master, do you think I look like a young groom? Do Dandan and I look like a couple?" "Haha, It's quite similar. Eggy glared at him. Anyone who looks like your bride will eventually become a man. Don't be obsessed with me, you know. The photographers and makeup artists were instantly amused when they heard what the two little guys said. The filming has also begun, because the appearance of the two of them does not require any makeup, they are basically mirror-like. After half an hour of shooting, we changed places to take pictures. After all, we had to travel to many places to take wedding photos this time, so it was good that they all took the photo in one go. So the shooting went very smoothly, and I also took a lot of photos of several spiritual pets. The wedding photos of the two have been taken. They took hundreds of outfits and traveled to several countries. They took all kinds of wedding photos, including ancient costumes, modern ones, and everything in between. Even a few spiritual pets were arranged, and less than half of the wedding photos included 4 spiritual pets. But Han Yexuan was jealous. They all took photos at will, without any guidance from the photographer, and all kinds of beautiful photos came out. After the two of them took their wedding photos, they planned to go out for a walk on a busy road with dense crowds of people. Some men gathered around Mukinjian intentionally or unintentionally, and the bold man just wanted to reach out and touch her. As a result, Han Yexuan grabbed his hand, and the man covered his hand in pain. A cold voice sounded in his ears, "Are you looking for death? You can use your hand if you don't want it." The man could only cover his injured hand and run away in despair, not daring to say anything. He saw the man nearby pushing towards her again, and his tall body stepped forward and hugged her waist. The men nearby saw that they were a couple and quickly stayed away from her. Suddenly hugged by him, he raised his head and looked at him. "Xian, what are you doing?" "Nothing. I just want to hold you so that you won't be kidnapped by others. There are too many people here today, I don't like it." "Okay, let's go to dinner first and then go to the movies." Han Yexuan took the hand and said, "Okay, as long as you like it." When all the dishes were served, he knew she liked shrimps, so he patiently peeled them off for her. Seeing him busy peeling shrimp shells for himself, he quickly gave him some vegetables. "You should eat it yourself, I'm almost full, there are so many dishes, I can't just let me eat it alone." "Okay, I obey my wife." Her face turned red instantly. "I can't even stop your mouth from eating, so eat quickly." After he finished eating, the two came to the couple's box of the movie. Lying on a large and comfortable lounge chair, holding hands. Until the end of the movie, the lights suddenly flicker with a dazzling light. Petals fell one by one, and the staff walked in pushing cakes and bouquets, and then walked out silently. Han Yexuan picked up the bouquet and knelt down on one knee. "Ching-er, I love you. I broke my promise back then, so please ask me to propose to you again in a grand way. Will you marry me?" She took the bouquet with a moved expression. "I do, I'm very happy." "As long as you're happy, I'll do whatever you want." After saying that, he hugged her, lowered his head and kissed her affectionately. She hugged his neck and responded enthusiastically. This response made him immediately deepen the kiss, and only when he looked at her red lips did he let her go with satisfaction. End of this chapter. The contemporary academic god is secretly a charlatan. Author, Luo Meyer. Chapter 228. Chapter 228. The game continues. After Mukinjian and Han Yexuan took wedding photos, they rushed back to the country, and the outdoor survival competition of the special training class was about to come to an end. When she arrived at the scene, Luo Lei immediately ran over excitedly. "Boss, you are finally back. Guess how many people in our class have passed, haha." She blurted out without thinking, "Everything passed." Luo Lei's eyes widened and he said with disbelief, "Damn it. Boss, you were here a long time ago, so you learned early that all the students in our class had passed. But it shouldn't be. The results were just released just now." "Yes, boss, do you know how to tell fortunes?" Huh, don't I look like a fortune teller? He rubbed his head and said, Boss, if you act like a liar, no one will believe you. You don't look like a fortune teller. She kicked him away and said, On the way, I want to find your boss. My fortune telling starts with a minimum of 6 digits. Do you think I look like a liar? Boss, I didn't expect you to be a magician. It's quite profitable. You can just deceive a few rich fools. What are you thinking about in your head? Come on, go see them. When the students in the special training class saw her, everyone happily gathered around her and Lugole, completely ignoring how embarrassed they were. Teacher, we succeeded in the assessment. Fortunately, we experienced it once, otherwise we wouldn't have been able to persist. Mukinjian looked at them and said, That's right. I hope you will continue to work hard. Okay. You go take a shower and change into clean clothes. Instructor Lugo has prepared a big meal for you. You can go and eat after you take a shower. Haha, that's great, I feel like I can eat a few chickens. The instructor on the side saw that there were only 15 people in her class out of 100 people, and there were only 15 people in her class. This shocked everyone. All the instructors could only congratulate her reluctantly, but she didn't mind the trouble and left it to Lugole to talk to them. By the time she returned to the hotel, the special training class had returned to their original appearance, and everyone was lying comfortably on chairs. Actually, I was so full that I didn't want to move. She walked up to them and said, You have a morning off today. The second game is about to start in the afternoon, so you can go and rest after breakfast. No, there are still tests in the afternoon, and I feel like I haven't recovered yet. It's difficult. Everyone complained a few times, but finally went to rest honestly. After all, it was more important to restore physical strength. A few hours later, Lugole looked exhausted. Boss, they are so scary. They all want to trick me and ask me how to train them. Mukinjian said amusedly, Then did you say it? Lugole patted his chest and smiled evilly. I'm not an idiot. I said it's a process that can be trained by ordinary people. I just don't know if they will believe it. Boss, you don't know that when I talked about how to train the special training class later, the instructors didn't believe me after hearing what I said, and they thought I was an idiot. I was really angry. No one will believe you when you say this. After all, the children who can enter the special training class are probably from rich families. If they are trained to death like us, the parents of their children will have an uproar. Lugole shook his head helplessly and sighed, But boss, your training methods are really terrifying and violent. You should know that during the admissions assessment, I knew that boss has become powerful. Haha, I feel like you want to call me a pervert. His eyes averted and he smiled awkwardly. Hee, boss, what are you talking about? I didn't think so. I just think boss is so different, and his training methods are so special. Boss, look at my sincere eyes, believe me. Okay, I don't know about your little juju yet. Boss, you are so smart, so what are we doing together? What else are you going to do? I'll go play games and you can watch over the students. Be careful not to let them eat anything during the game. After all, there will always be villains who want to do tricks. People. They just get jealous. Lugole instantly regained his serious attitude. I know, boss, don't worry. Just leave it to me. If anyone dares to do something small to my students, I will beat them up. Then I'll leave it to you. After Mukinjian's reminder, Lugole personally checked the students' meals and food sources. However, there were still some villains who played tricks on their water. 10 of the 15 people in the class developed diarrhea. Seeing that the game was about to start in half an hour, something happened at the critical moment. Medical personnel arriving at the scene can only provide relief, but cannot completely solve the problem. When she appeared at the scene, looking at them like this, She took out a bottle of medicine from her arms and asked them to take it one by one. A few minutes after eating, their symptoms slowly recovered and everyone stood up quickly. "Teacher, our stomach pain is gone. It's such a miraculous medicine, just take one and you'll be fine. I feel full of strength all over my body. What kind of medicine is this?" Ma Chao looked at the medicine bottle in her hand. "Hey, teacher, although my stomach doesn't hurt, can I have a taste?" She put the bottle directly into his hand. "One for each person, don't eat more." The remaining 5 people who didn't have stomachaches all picked up one and ate it. Sure enough, a few minutes after eating, everyone felt full of energy and full of strength. Luo followed her closely. "Ahem, boss, I seem to have taken a sip of water today, and I also feel that my stomach is not very comfortable. It just feels weird. Do you have any extra medicine, boss? Can you give it to me? I'll try one too." Why didn't she know his little thoughts and just handed him a bottle? "One bottle is given to you. You can eat it slowly." He happily took the bottle, picked up one and ate it. Sure enough, my whole body felt comfortable very quickly, and my previous waist injury felt a little better. "Boss, what kind of medicine is this? Why is the color different from what they just took?" "This elixir can cure your waist injuries and gunshot wounds. Don't you have pain from time to time? Take it for half a month and you'll be fine." Luo was moved for a moment. "Boss, I didn't expect you to care about me so much. Boss, I love you so much." Mu Xiao, who was on the side, walked up to him and said, "Instructor Luo, you should be careful when you say this. If my brother-in-law hears this, you will end up in a terrible end." Han Yexuan came to mind, and he suddenly felt a strong chill coming over him, making his whole body tremble. He patted his mouth quickly and said, "Slip of the tongue, a complete slip of the tongue. How can the boss be loved by mortals like us? The only person who can love the boss is the boss's husband." After he finished saying this, the chill disappeared instantly. He looked around cautiously, with a blank look on his face. This is amazing. End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The contemporary academic god is secretly a charlatan. Author, Luo Meyer. Chapter 229. Chapter 229 Wedding Scene. The competition started soon, and the scene was extremely fierce. In the second shooting competition, all 15 people from the special training class passed, and in the third individual physical fitness competition, half of them also achieved excellent results. The last game is a group shootout elimination competition. Whoever survives to the last moment will win the class, and personal abilities will also be assessed. This assessment competition is mainly a team competition, and victory depends on mutual unity. The ones competing with them were the special training class from Y City. They had 60 people, while the special training class of Emperor Phoenix Academy only had 15 people. So the special training class in Y City was directly divided into 2 teams. The first team directly attacked their base. The result was a good idea but a cruel reality. 30 people were directly killed by them. Now they did not dare to attack because they only had 30 people left. In the end, Mu Xiao and Mu Xiaoyui took Ma Chao and the other 5 of them and sneaked into their base. They cooperated internally and externally to directly destroy the Y City special training class, and quickly won the victory. Luo shouted excitedly, "Well done, well done." The chief instructor and assistant instructor of Y City on the side were furious, but they couldn't say anything. As they were eliminated, only 5 teams were left. As night fell, the game became more difficult, and everyone was somewhat exhausted. No one dared to move. There were only 4 of them out of 15, and there were 9 more to deal with. Wu Tao started to fight. "I'm going to lure them out." Then sooner or later we will suffer losses, and it's up to you. After saying that, he picked up the gun and touched it, and the other party shot Wu Tao. Mu Xiaoyue, Mu Xiao, and Ma Chao immediately fought back, knocking down 4 of their opponents. It was not a loss if one of them replaced 4 of them. Now it's 5 against 3. Seeing how powerful they are, the opponent doesn't dare to move at all, and directly changes their position. Ma Chao held several smoke grenades in his hand. I rushed over and blew up their nest. These should be able to blow up a few people. Mu Xiaoyue nodded and said, "Okay, pay attention to the top. They have snipers on the high ground." He nodded and said, "Don't worry. I'm the best at positioning in the class." In this way, Ma Chao relied on his own crazy moves to avoid the sniper on the elevated road. In addition, he was being targeted by Mu Xiao, so he did not dare to expose himself and fight Ma Chao. Ma Chao ran directly to the enemy camp and said, "Master Chao is here, let's see what's going on." Smoke grenades directly blew up the 3 opponents until their clothes were dirty, and the 3 people and Ma Chao were directly eliminated. Then Mu Xiaoyue and Mu Xiaoyue went around to attack each other. With the cooperation of the 2, they won directly. Ma Chao and the others hugged each other excitedly. "Haha, we won, we are first." When the 2 men returned to the scene gloriously, everyone lifted them up one after another. Luo Lei also looked happy. "Boss, they won. No, we all won together." On the morning of the second day, the students put on their special training class clothes, and everyone raised their heads proudly. As the award ceremony began, their class, which achieved the rank of 4th level Sergeant Major, ranked first in the overall score. Mu Xiaoyue and Mu Xiao ranked first and received the rank of 1st class Sergeant Major. The second place was Ma Chao, who was awarded the rank of Sergeant Major of the 2nd class. The third place was from another city, and the 4th place was Wu Tao, who was awarded the rank of Sergeant Major of the 3rd class. Everyone was so happy that Mu Qingjian directly invited them to a feast. When they learned that she was getting married tomorrow, they were instantly shocked and wanted to attend her wedding one after another. She also handed them the invitations without politeness. When they went home with the invitations, their parents also wanted to attend. In the group directly at Muan, she naturally agreed. The wedding day was extremely grand. When the students from the special training class and their parents saw the scene, they suddenly felt that they were high up. All dignitaries and dignitaries blessed him, and everyone was filled with big smiles. At this time, the MC picked up the microphone and said, "Welcome everyone to attend the wedding of Mr. Han and Miss Mu. Now let us warmly welcome the bride Mu Qingjian and the groom Han Yexuan." "Papa," everyone applauded enthusiastically. Mu Qingjian was wearing an exclusively designed wedding dress, and Mu Xiao held one of her hands. Dandan and Juhu were wearing bridesmaid and groomsmen costumes, holding the skirts of their wedding dresses behind her, with big smiles on their faces. Yinkinja and a few others walked behind them, and they were also sincerely happy. Mu Xiao put her hand on Han Yexuan's. "I hope you can take good care of her and cherish her, and be happy. I'll give her to you." He held her hand tightly and said, "I will." The MC looked at them and smiled happily. "Dear distinguished guests, at this moment, I cannot use the most beautiful words in the world to praise the newlyweds, but we can use the warmest applause to express our blessings to them and their happiness. The union is a perfect match sent by heaven. I wish them good luck together and grow old together. Finally, let us raise a toast to the newlyweds. Master of ceremony, excuse me, Mr. Han, are you willing to marry Mu Qingjian? I will never let her down in this life." "I do." Master of ceremony, may I ask Miss Mu, are you willing to marry Han Yexuan and never leave her no matter where you are in this life?" "I do." Master of ceremony, please exchange rings with the bride and groom to bring your love to a perfect end. Han Yexuan took the wedding ring and put it on for her. The two exchanged wedding rings, And the MC continued, "May Mr. Han and Miss Mew hold hands and grow old together." Today, under the witness of everyone, they walked into their sacred wedding hall. No matter it's wind or rain, they have to spend time together, and they will help each other in the journey of life, love each other for a lifetime, and grow old hand in hand. Now invite the bride and groom to drink a cup of wine as a sign of longevity. Yin Qinjia and Zhang Minmin were holding red wine glasses. She took the red wine and drank the wine with Han Yexuan. Grandma Bo couldn't help crying when she saw this scene, and Mr. Bo quickly comforted her. "Why are you crying? Today is Xiao Yan's big day, so don't cry. I'm so happy Xiao Yan is married and has 3 lovely children. If our children are still here, we will definitely be very happy." Bo Lao half hugged her and comforted her. "Well, they will be happy." The two of them walked down and started toasting table after table. Everyone saw that even the president of the country came to this banquet, and they couldn't help but sigh that this is simply the most awesome couple. The people present are all big guys among the big guys. They originally wanted to make a fuss in the special training class, but they behaved themselves, but they really didn't dare to make a fuss. This scene was so shocking that they were afraid that if they started making trouble, they would be beaten to death by their father when they went back. End of this chapter. The contemporary academic god is secretly a charlatan. Author, Luo Meyer. Chapter 230. Chapter 230 Wedding Night. Mu Qinjian and Han Yexuan were toasting table after table. Fortunately, they were not ordinary people, otherwise they would have gotten drunk after toasting like this. When they arrived at the special training class, they stood up happily. "Congratulations, teacher. We toast to you. May you, teacher, have a long and happy life and have children as soon as possible." She smiled brightly and said, "Thank you for your blessings. We already have 3 sons, but I don't recommend having another daughter. I hope it will hinder your blessing." "Wow, no way. Teacher, you actually have 3 sons, and we didn't even know it. You didn't ask me." "Haha, I still want to congratulate the teacher for having twin girls." Han Yexuan hugged her and said, "Thank you. You guys had a good time. If you don't have enough drinks, just take them. Okay, brother-in-law, you and your sister will continue to toast," Mu Xiaorui said to help them. "Well, okay, Xiaorui will take care of the classmates for my sister." After the toast, everyone gathered together to watch the performances of major A-list celebrities, and the people present couldn't help but be shocked. This wedding really cost a lot of money, and it was so heroic. Everyone didn't react until the wedding banquet was over. Farewell to everyone. Mu Qinjian also returned to their wedding villa. Han Yexuan hugged her directly and said, "Qing we are going to have a night of flowers and candles in our bridal chamber. Are you ready?" She beat his chest shyly. "You are not serious." "Qing why am I not serious anymore? If I were serious about my career, I'm afraid I wouldn't be saved." "Qing you need to know that my husband is also a normal man." "Humph, old man. The old man, I want to let Qing see the old man's true strength today." Mu Qinjian was so frightened that she was about to run away, but within a short time she was pinned down on the bed by him. "Qing can't beat me, so don't even think about escaping." Dividing line. There was no movement on the bed until after dawn, and Han Yexuan carried her to the bathroom with a satisfied look on his face. By the time Mu Qinjian woke up again, it was already past 4 in the afternoon. She rubbed her extremely sore waist. She was completely afraid and would never dare to speak to him again. He came over with a bowl of porridge. "Qing you must be hungry. I cooked your favorite shrimp porridge for you. Get up and eat some before you rest." She huddled under the quilt. "You have the nerve to show up, but I don't want to eat. Who do I blame? Ahem, I just want to prove to Qing that your husband and I are strong and not an old man." She exposed her head and said angrily, "So is it my fault?" He put the porridge on the table, picked her up and sat down on the sofa. "It's my husband's fault, let's get over it. My husband shouldn't be so powerful, please be more careful next time." When Mukinjian was told how powerful she was, she thought back to yesterday when she had begged for mercy all night. I won't talk to you anymore." He smiled fondly and decided not to tease her anymore. "Ching-er, let me feed you. My husband is really wrong. I'll forgive you this time, I'm hungry." "Okay, I'll feed you right away." After saying that, I fed her some porridge, not forgetting to blow on her in case she got too hot. Enjoying his service, she lay comfortably on the sofa. "My waist is so sore. Xian, come here and give me a good rub." Seeing her arrogant look, Han Yexuan still doted on her. "Okay, I'll give you a good rub, husband." Until he rubbed her until she fell asleep comfortably, he carried her back to the bed. After all, he had really worked hard for her. The next day, the two began their 10-day honeymoon, and they took their spiritual pets to the beach for vacation. While Dandan and Juhu were having fun, the two left the crowd and walked towards the seaside. He held her hand and slowly moved away from the crowd. "Ching-er, I really want to hold your hand like this." "Okay. As long as you don't get tired of it, I'll let you hold my hand as long as you want." "How can I get tired of it? I can get tired of everyone, but I can't get tired of you." Mukinjian smiled contentedly and said, "Xian, squat down a little. I want to take a look over there." He squatted down obediently. "Okay, little lazy boy, come up." She jumped directly on his back and put her arms around his neck. "Haha, I'm just lazy, so you still have to carry me on your back." He felt a piece of softness on his back, and his big hands covered her buttocks, and he couldn't help but squeeze them. "It's just your skin." She was pinched, and she beat him shyly. "There are still people looking at you, you pervert." He slowly stood up and strode toward the distant seaside. "What are you afraid of? You are my wife. Know it?" She lay on his gentle back. She felt extremely quiet and warm. She leaned her whole face on his back and fell asleep quietly within half an hour. He was walking on the beach by the sea with her on his back. He only heard her steady breathing, and he knew she was asleep. Seeing her asleep, he returned to the hotel. Gently put her on the bed, and he slowly lay down next to her. When Mukinjian woke up again, she saw that under the sunlight, his face had delicate features that even girls were jealous of. Flying eyebrows, long and dense eyelashes slightly curled up, a strong nose, and lips as pink as rose petals. Fair, smooth, and delicate skin, a face that feels like it was created by God. It is true that good-looking people are pleasing to the eye. She couldn't help but stretched out her evil hand and touched it. It felt soft and comfortable, and it was as good as she imagined. When she was feeling happy touching his face, he couldn't help but opened his eyes and held her hand tightly. "Ching-er, what are you doing?" She was so frightened that she quickly avoided his passionate gaze. "Ahem, I just think your skin is pretty good, hee." Her evasive eyes and her reddish ears had already given her away, but she still cooperated with her. "Ching-er, it's better not to make your husband angry so early in the morning. I'm so hungry, I'm going to eat." She quickly got up and sat on the bed, stretching. "Get up." Han Yexuan hugged her waist from behind. "Ching-er, I find that I love you more and more. You are really a little fairy." Because he said this close to her ear, she couldn't help but feel numb. "I love you too. I'm going to get up and brush my teeth." He hugged her greedily. "Well, I just want you to know that my body and mind are yours." She blushed and her heart beat faster at what he said, and she pushed him away gently. "I got it. Get up soon." He hugged her waist and buried his head in her long hair. "Okay, let me hold you for a while longer." She looked at him and hugged him helplessly. Why are you acting like a child? Okay. Can we go have breakfast now? He reluctantly let her go and followed her to the bathroom to brush her teeth and wash her face, and then the two of them slowly went down to have breakfast. Others, they don't need to eat breakfast at all, they are just used to eating some food. End of this chapter.